Good afternoon, everyone. It's Susanna, and we're on episode 8, Living Free and Leading Free, and this is the series finale, The True Source of Power, Genius, Freedom, and Self-Leadership. So this is the closing of the series, and if you've come this far with me, I want to begin with this. I believe in you. I believe in humanity. I believe in the extraordinary capacity of every human soul to rise beyond this programming and beyond the pain, beyond any trauma, and to step into the freedom and the leadership that has always been waiting on the inside of all of us. Because it's always there. It's always been there, and we have to wake up and remember it. And this is what I believe, most of humanity is weighed down by this invisible chain. And it's a life-controlling issue of fear, addiction, insecurity, anger, and even low self-esteem. And kind of look at it like, how they put up the invisible dog fence around the house, and then you put the collar on the dog, and if they go too close to the invisible fence that they dig in the ground, they get shocked. I look at humanity like that. We all have this invisible collar on that when we get too, close to something that is not, even sometimes, even if it's good, we kind of pull back. But mainly if it's like you're weighed down by fear or addiction or insecurity or anger or low self-esteem, you kind of like, ooh, and it shocks you. And we have to understand that it's an illusion, and you built that in to your belief system. It's hardwired. Now you need to undo it. And the programming that says you're not enough, stay small and stay silent. No, we're not going to do that. And that trauma that whispers, you'll never be free. But none of that is who we are. None of it. It's all a recorder that we've been programmed, and it's not true. And the only thing that makes it true is the fact that if you agree to it, and we're not going to agree to that anymore, okay? So living free is a personal transformation that begins when you choose truth over lies. And the truth over lies means that you stop believing in the program. And when you choose healing over hiding, and when you choose to stop letting pain define your future, right? Because the pain or trauma, that could be defining all your choices. And I'll give you a story about something because I think it's important. When I was in my early 20s, I got this fantastic job in the fashion business. And I was at a show in Paris, and we finished the show, and we all went out to dinner, the vendors. And I was sitting next to one of my friends, Ingrid. And I was telling her something from the past. And she didn't really have any emotions. She was just looking at me. And then she said to me, "Is it happening to you now?" And I was like, God, what does she mean? Is it happening to me now? And I had to think about it. And then she asked again, "Is it happening to you now?" And she goes, "Answer the question." I said, "No." And then she said this, "Then you're living in the past. And that's not where you want to be." And it jarred me. And it was a defining point in my life at that moment. And I realized that I didn't want to tell that story any longer because it didn't serve me, and it wasn't happening to me now. And it's something you want to ask yourself about that. And it changed my life. I mean, I was like 22 or something like that. And she really, made a difference in my life. And she still does. She has so much wisdom. And there's a miracle that I'd like to say. And when you live free, you don't just change your own life, but you begin to lead. First yourself, then your family, then your community, in that order. That's why it's so important to break free of the programming and to not let that past be a part of anything in your life of today. If it's not happening now to you, let go. It's so important. So important. And leadership isn't about titles or positions. It's about living so authentically and so courageously that others feel safe to rise with you. And that's where we all want to be. We want to help other people, right? And imagine if people, people or happenings like this, when ordinary people begin to live free, what will that do? First, in a family, it would heal a family indefinitely, because you'd make a huge difference in your family. And then communities would awaken. Think about it. That's what would happen. Then hope would spread like a fire through places that once felt lifeless. That's what you'd be doing. You'd be part of the spark that grants this world an awakening. And this is why living free matters. And this is why leading free matters. Because when one, even just one human being awakens, their freedom becomes an invitation to others. Remember, you're a ripple, you're an echo in this world. And you are so important to this. We all are. And this finale is not about finger pointing. It's not about shame. It's about hope, because we're all in this together. And it's about courage. And it's about the unstoppable truth. You are more powerful than the issues that tried to control you. And that's the program that I'm talking about. Or the trauma or the pain that's happened in the past, or the anger, or the self-worth. You're worthy of anything. I love humanity too much, and that's why I'm not staying silent. I care too much, and I want to remind myself, and I want to remind everybody else, we were born free. And I tell myself, like, if I start to feel something, like I feel like maybe, I can't do that because, I don't know anything about that. So how can I do it? But then I remember, I was born free. I can learn it, like languages, I learned on my own. I did go to Italian school. I was in Italy, in Florence, for a couple months, and I signed up for the school, the Italian language school. And I didn't go the whole time, but I learned some Italian. But then when I got home, I listened to it online and stuff, and I learned that way. So you can do these things, and you were born to rise. And you were born to lead. And you have to remind yourself this. You have to tell yourself, because no one on the outside is going to tell you this. Nobody will. That's why your self-talk Your self thoughts and your self feelings and emotions matter hugely. You have to speak to yourself in kind and with courage and with honor. And you have to know your self-worth because you are worthy. And this is really now the moment. And we have to decide today, this second. And I want to do a deep reflection on what does it mean living free? What does it really mean to live free? It doesn't mean a perfect life because things happen. It doesn't mean, you're not going to face any storms. But what it does mean is living free means storms no longer own you. And that's what you have to realize, because you can make it through anything. And you can. It means that you no longer live chained to fear or shame or that low self-worth. You just don't live that anymore. That's not who you are, because you know you're worthy. You don't accept anything but that. You don't let anybody else tell you you're not worthy, because it doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't. Just get out of it and just, you know what? Don't hang out with those people. If they tell you you're not a philosopher, who gives a rat's butt, right? You can be whatever you want. And living free means you no longer let the program tell you who you are. You no longer hand your power over to that old trauma and those addictions. And you no longer wait for permission from the world to feel any type of joy or feel peace and to feel whole. You are that. And you commit to that deliberately. And living free is choosing deliberately to align with it, truth every day, and to say this: I may have been programmed, I may have been stifled in thoughts, feelings, and emotions, but I will not live my life in chains. I will not live my life in chains. And when you live free, the issues that once controlled you lose their power. That's when you break the code. That is when you break that code. And they may still sometimes, kind of whisper up and come up, but they may even still knock a little bit, at the door in your ears, but they cannot define you anymore. And they won't define you anymore. Today you choose. Deliberately you choose today, right now, this second. And because living free is not about escaping struggle, it's about stepping into your true identity in spite of all. Now let's go deeply into the reflection of leading free. And most people hear the word leader and they think immediately of like politics, CEOs, or like a famous figure. But true leadership doesn't start on a stage. It starts inside of you. And leading free means leading yourself first. It means setting the tone of your own life. Refusing to live, to let fear even run your decisions. You don't allow that anymore. That's done. And refusing to live as a victim of circumstances. You have to get out of that victimhood. That's a killer. And choosing freedom over and over again until it becomes who you are. Because if you feel you're not free of something, it's either it's a number of things. It could be a number of things. This is what I believe, is that you're either constantly, your thoughts are looping, and they're looping in some form of a past or maybe some form of the future. And that stops you from being free because you're worried over here from the past, or you're worried for the future. So you got to break that. That's why close that off and be in the now and center yourself. And when you do this, when you lead yourself, you naturally begin to lead others. Not because you force them, and not because you command them, because you don't want to start to, do that. But because freedom is magnetic. And when you live in freedom, you are sending out magnetic energy out there. And people feel it. And you're magnetic, and people want to be around that. And then when people want to be around that, then you give part of that to them, and they feel free to be able to be magnetic as well. And remember that life becomes a living mirror. Remember, I spoke about that, I don't know, about a month ago in one of my videos, that life is a mirror, and it's constantly, it's a boomerang. People don't understand that, but life is a mirror. So everything you send out comes back to you. So if somebody calls you a name or says something that's not nice, in essentially what's happening is it's going to hit them back, not you. Depending upon if you take that in and you believe in what they're telling you, then it will hit you. You'll feel it. But if you say, you know what they say about me, I'm not going to buy into that. That's not who I am, because I know who I am. And that person may be having a bad day. So your presence becomes an invitation, and you live awake. Others feel safe to awaken because they see you awake. And when you live free, others glimpse their own possibilities of freedom. Remember, you're a ripple, and you're echoing out every second of the day. And that's why you're worthy. And that's why you have to be able to become stable and, control your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. So this is really the leadership at the highest form. That's how you have to look at it when you're doing those things. Not leadership of control, but leadership of resonance. That's your energy. The echo, the ripple. Not leadership of ego, but leadership of truth. And imagine a community where hundreds live like this. Imagine humanity where millions live like this. They live this way. And that is how the world changes. That's really how it changes, not from the top down, but from the inside out. And we have to focus on that, because we're gonna, if we keep on looking at politics and, someone coming to save us, we have to first remember, starts with yourself, family, then community. So let me ask this. What does living free look like in your life right now? And what does leading free look like for your family, your work, and your community? These would be 2 great questions for a family sit down, and you guys get pen and paper and you write out the answers, and then you guys discuss it as a family unit. This would be incredible. What if today you chose to no longer be controlled by fear or trauma or shame or by the program? And what if today you decided that your freedom will ripple outward, touching lives you never meet? Because that's essentially what you're doing every single day. Because when you live free, you heal. When you lead free, you awaken others. And when enough humans awaken, the world changes. This is not theory. This is destiny. You have to realize this. This is how the world works. This is the power that has always been inside of you, and this is the power that's in all of us. So this is how I look at the truth. We were born free. You were born a genius. You were born to lead, not in power over something, somebody else, but in power within. And living free is a gift. And leading free is your responsibility. It is. And when you step into the truth, you don't just change your life, you change the lives around you. And when humanity awakens together, we change the world. So you're already free, you're already a genius. Now go out and make life happen. Thanks everybody for connecting in this series. And I hope that you continue to follow, subscribe, share if you'd like. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks everybody.